Hey guys, my name is Zach. I'm the media director here at TekMat. And today in our workshop, I'm going to show you how to clean one of the most heavily used rifles during World War II, the M1 Garand. So let's get to it. Most M1 Garand owners usually don't disassemble their firearm for every clean. Usually they do a deeper clean at the end of the year after they've shot it various times. We're actually going to show you that deeper clean today so that you can see how to disassemble, clean, lubricate, and put back together your M1 Garand. So the items we're going to be using in this video are first, our nylon brush to apply the cleaner, gun grease, our cleaning rod, a brush for the gun grease, a jag, a ratchet chamber brush, a bore brush, a muzzle guide, thin patches and thick, a Tek towel, cleaner, lubricant, and of course our TekMat that protects your surfaces and has a diagram of all the parts of the M1 Garand and some awesome info. So first things first, safety first. We're going to want to go ahead and make sure that there is no ammo in the vicinity of where we're cleaning and also in the rifle. And we're going to go ahead and visually and physically inspect to make sure there's no ammo and there's nothing. So we're good to start disassembling. So in order to disassemble the firearm, we're going to go ahead and flip it upside down and lift up on the trigger guard and take that trigger assembly out. Now to separate the stock from the barrel and receiver group, we're going to go ahead and lightly tap the stock so that the barrel receiver group comes out. We're going to go ahead and lift up on the follower and slide assembly and pull back on that follower rod from the follower arm. And you can see there's these little latches here that attach to the follower arm. We're going to pull that out. We're going to just set that right here. And now with a jag or some kind of punch, we're going to go ahead and push right here on the follower rod pin. And if you see here, it kind of sticks out. You're just going to push there, and it's pretty easy to take out. All right, now that we've taken out the follower arm pin, we can go ahead and take out the trigger guard, and the follower arm will come out with it. And now we can take out the operating rod catch. And lastly, the follower and slide assembly comes right out if you lift it. Now, to get out the operating rod itself, if you see here, there's a little part where it lifts up, and you're going to just push on it right there. And that's going to come up and out. And then now, lastly, you can take out the bolt. And usually you just kind of have to wiggle it out and kind of rotate it. So perfect, our M1 Garand is fully disassembled and ready to be cleaned. So the first part we're going to go ahead and clean is the chamber. So what we're going to go ahead and do is use this ratchet chamber brush tool. And we really like these droppers because you can control how much you're using. You're not going to waste amount of cleaner, but we're going to put a little bit of cleaner on there and then stick that inside. Then screw our cleaning rod onto the chamber. Do this a couple times, just rotate that, allowing the chamber to get a nice coat of cleaner in there. And that should be good. And pull that out. Now that we've done the chamber, we're going to go ahead and clean the bore. And the way we're going to do that is with this bore brush. We're going to put some cleaner on there. With this tool, this muzzle guard here, put it on the muzzle. And what you're going to do is you're going to push this through. And I think that's good enough. Now that we've brushed the inside of the bore with a bore brush and cleaner, we're going to go ahead and attach our jag and put some clean patches through. And here, as you can see, we like these smaller patches. They tend to not fight as much when you're pushing it through the bore. And as you can see, that rifle was pretty dang dirty. And you're going to want to do this several times until comes out clean, your patch comes out clean. So if you look at that, it's still pretty dirty. Okay. And for the sake of the video, we're going to go ahead and stop there. But if you were to do this at home, you're gonna wanna make sure that it comes out clean. So now we're gonna start cleaning those smaller parts, put some cleaner on our nylon brush. And we're gonna start here with the operating rod catch to get all areas. Our follower arm pin. Now we got our follower arm. And we already have enough cleaner so we don't have to reapply it. Basically just getting all parts. And here's our bullet guide. Now we're going to clean inside the receiver. And inside where the bolt rests. Now we're going to clean the bolt itself and just clean all parts, but also not putting any near the firing pin, but just inspecting it for any fouling or carbon or dust. Okay, we'll go ahead and set that aside. We're just going to wipe some cleaner on the op rod. It's not too dirty. Okay, so the op rod's done. Now we're going to clean the trigger assembly. Making sure to get all parts. There's a lot of them. All right, now that we've applied cleaner and let it soak on all the smaller parts, we're gonna go start wiping off the cleaner. And here's the bolt. We're just making sure to get all of that off. All right, we're gonna set that aside and just clean off all the small parts. And you're gonna wanna just do this on all the other parts. Just wiping them off with the patch. And I actually like to use the Tech Towel to remove the cleaner from the parts. It's a lot easier, it kind of grabs it all. Okay. Perfect. Now when I'm cleaning inside the receiver, I like to use patches just because it's kind of a tighter fit. Perfect. And wipe down the trigger assembly, making sure to cover all parts. Now it's time to lubricate our firearm using gun grease, and we're also going to use gun oil in one part. We're going to go ahead and put some of it on this brush and just a nice light coat. First off in the bolt camming area, and you can kind of see where the bolt slides. Not a lot, just enough where it's a nice thin coat. Another place we're going to want to put it is a little bit on this side. Now, where the bolt rests, we want to put a thin coat just where it's sliding. Not a lot, like I said, because we don't want it going in the firing pin. Just a nice thin coat where we see metal touching metal. All right, that looks good. Now, where the operating rod slides on the receiver, we're going to just put a little bit more. Put a nice thin coat. And a little bit right here on the barrel where the operating rod slides. You can see a little bit of wear. Perfect. And now for the trigger assembly, the only place you want to put any oil is right here where the trigger guard slides. And that's it. And just cycle that a couple times, and then we're gonna get this cleaning patch and we're gonna wipe that down, because we do not want oil in our trigger assembly, because these parts run great when they're dry and we don't want any malfunctions. And your M1 Garand at this point is perfectly lubricated and ready to be put back together. We're going to get the bolt, make sure the firing pin is facing the muzzle end, and you're gonna kind of swivel it. All right, so now that you've got the bolt in, we're gonna go ahead and slide the operating rod in right next to the barrel and make sure it goes inside there. There's a little lip here attached to the bolt. So now that we've got the operating rod in, we're gonna cycle that, and we're going to first put in the operating rod catch. If you see here, there's a little piece of metal sticking out, and with the arm, it will attach perfectly. And then after that, you're gonna go ahead and get the bullet guide, and you can tell where to put the bullet guide because there's this little arm sticking out, this little hook. It's gonna go right under there, and the bullet guide's gonna sit perfectly flush with the receiver. All right, so now you can put the follower rod assembly in. The larger end's gonna go towards the muzzle, and the flat side is gonna be facing up while you put it in. And before you drop it all the way down, you're gonna go ahead and get the follower arm. The smaller end with those two little notches are gonna go into the follower and slide assembly, and then you can drop that down. To lock all of that in, you're gonna get the follower arm pin and put it in on the operating rod side. Now that you've got the follower arm pin in, you can get the follower rod and spring in here, and it just latches right on there. This is all set up for us to go ahead and put the stock back on. The last thing we got to put on is the trigger assembly. And what you're going to do is make sure the trigger guard is up, and it's just going to plop right in, and then to lock it, push the trigger guard in. Move the safety back and forth to make sure it works. All right, now cycle the bolt a couple times. All right, and that is how you clean the M1 Garand. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you want to get your own M1 Garand TekMat or a TekMat with your firearm, visit our website at tekmat.com. Thanks.